Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk to you about a forgotten X-Men series that a lot of people really have forgotten about. Like, you never hear nobody bring this up anymore. And it's quite a shame, because it was really good. X-Men Evolution came out in the early 2000s. It came out right after the very first Fox X-Men movie. And it appeared for 4 seasons on Kids WB. Now, that's kind of weird in itself because it was a Marvel series. So why would it be on Kids WB Kids when the WB is mainly produces like DC content? Well, this is before Nickelodeon had a partnership with Marvel at one point in time, and before there was a Disney Plus, and before Disney even bought out Marvel. This is back still when Marvel was bankrupt. This series was unique for the sole purpose of it depicted the actual X-Men as teenagers. Everybody you know and love, from Cyclops to Nightcrawler to Rogue to Jean, they were all teenagers. And they were all in high school of all things. That was strange and bizarre. And the reason for that is because teen superhero shows were a hot commodity at that time. Shows like Batman Beyond, Teen Titans especially. Teen Titans blew up the whole teen superhero craze. There was the Legion of Superheroes, and as many years pass on, there will be other ones as well. So Marvel really wanted to get in on some of that teen superhero action. But they had to think, who could they do? They couldn't do like the Young Avengers and stuff. So since the X-Men movie at Fox had just came out, they figured, well, this is hot on people's mind, let's do them. And it actually kind of worked. I remember when I saw this, I was just kind of like, why are they teenagers for? Because like many people, I watched X-Men, the animated series, which is still today the best X-Men content there will ever be. There's only been about 4 American X-Men cartoon series. There's been about 3 animated ones. Anime. And but X-Men anime series was top notch. It looked like it came straight from the comic book. They had storylines that came straight from the comic books. It felt like it was a comic book came to life. X-Men Evolution, however, that was totally different. The art design was different and unique, but it looked great. I love the designs of them, but they did not look like they came from the comic books. Actually, tell you the truth, it really didn't even revolve around the comic books all that much in the beginning. They took characters from the comic books. They took certain situations with those characters, but they didn't go in full detail like X-Men animated series. In fact, this was nothing really but a high school teen drama, and like the first 2 seasons that happened to have superheroes going on their superhero missions. It was more story focus driven like all X-Men stuff is, but more contained in a teenage high school lifestyle. Because of that complaint and the lack of action, like there was action, but it didn't last that long. It was played very safe. After some of the complaints came in, by the 3rd season, they started to crank things up. They started to bring in more characters and storylines from the comics, and it was stuff people actually recognized and were familiar with, and they was very happy. Trying to find this series on DVD will be hard. The only one that ever came out in a complete season was season 3. And then in season 1 and 2, they were broken up in volumes. Season 4 has never came out on DVD. Now, the entire series itself has come out on DVD, but in other stinking countries. That makes no sense. I hate when that happens. It's our show, we should get it first. But you know how it is. I mean, the characters' designs, their uniform, the X-Men uniform, they took designs from the X-Men movie. Gone are the colorful, like individual colors that you recognize the X-Men having their own individuality, and more were kind of like these. They still had individuality, but they're more militaristic. They try to capitalize on the black uniforms from the movies. Now, their outfits in the show, they're not black. If you look really close, they're a very, very, very dark blue. Now, not all of the X-Men were turned into teenagers, and not all of the characters. When it came to the Brotherhood of Mutants, now they were teenagers as well. They were the primary antagonists for like the first 2 seasons. But like I said before, not everybody was a teen. Some were adults. Wolverine was an adult. Magneto was an adult. Storm was an adult. Beast was an adult. And of course, the man himself, Professor X, he was an adult as well. But he was a little bit more younger than what he's normally depicted as. He looked more like he's in his late 30s, early 40s. This show also took inspiration from the movies when it came to Cerebro. Instead of it being in the war room with just a little helmet coming down from the regular room with a regular desk, here is now the giant metal room that we saw in the first X-Men movie. And a little plank that he sits on, and that giant like desk type thing, and the helmet. But you know, I love that design so much. Omar Madma, she isn't part of the X-Men, she's part of the New Mutants, and she's a really cool like mutant who has like magma fire type powers. And she starts to be shown a bit more in season 2 and a bit more in season 3. She kind of takes the place of Jubilee, who does appear in this, who doesn't really do much. But she has like a small roles here and there, but she became like a fan favorite big time because nobody was expecting them to make her like a central character in the show. We even get to see Angel in this series. He's a vigilante who helps people at night. And Magneto does not like that whatsoever, so he tries to like get Angel and stuff. We even see the Morlocks in season 3, and these Morlocks look gross and nasty, unlike the other ones we saw and stuff. They even have a teenage version of Forge. He's like this dude from the 70s who's stuck in like a different dimension, and they gave him a unique quality, a metal arm. Like he has a regular arm, but it can turn to a metal like giant tool type arm. And so like he's a really fascinating character. Even Robert Kelly is in this, but he plays a principal, and of course he hates mutants. The X-Jet makes an appearance, and it looks more like it does in the X-Men movies than it does in the comics, and it's not even called the Blackbird. I think originally they called it that, but then they started calling it the X-Jet. But then they also have other vehicles as well. Now, one of the coolest things this show did is when Craig created X-23. It was created in this show. Now, this one is depicted like she is in the Logan movie. She is a Hispanic girl. But this one did not come from the womb of a woman like it is in the comic books. In the comic book, they changed her into Asian and they made her the Lady Deathstrike's daughter. But in this one, she's just the clone of Wolverine, and she is pissed off. And I mean, she is pissed off. And because she thinks all this happened all because of Wolverine. So she goes out to like murder him and stuff. She ends up ambushing all of the X-Men. Like she is that good. And then she has this big climactic fight with Wolverine. But it's not that big climactic. All it is, she just tries to stab him and he deflects her claw. I'm just like, come on, man. You could have done something way better than that. Give us the action that we wanted and we needed. Now, of course, she probably got created because of Lady Deathstrike. This was after the second X-Men movie came out. So this one is a creation of Hydra. And S.H.I.E.L.D. knows about her. So Nick Fury, the white version from the comics, he tells Wolverine and everything like, hey, look, man, like, you know, you've been cloned and this and that. And she's loose and her objective is to like destroy you. So of course she's going after, she goes to the X mansion. She takes out all the mutants there and she's looking for Wolverine. And so her and Wolverine have like this huge battle and everything, to a point where he's able to subdue her and he's trying to like quell her and everything, you know, tell her, you know, like, I'm just like you, like, you know, this sucks what happened to us, our bodies got violated, we had metal put in us, because she's a clone, she's not like an offspring. And so he tells her, you know, I'll look after you, I'll take care of you and everything. And so she's this angry little girl who just wants to like kill him. but she just starts like crying and like, sobbing in like his arms. And then so Shield comes because they want to like arrest her. So she flees, but she leaves the X-Mention and everything. And Wolverine has no idea where she is until season 4. She's voiced by 2 different actresses. And in season 4, she's trying to take down Hydra. Wolverine gets involved, and then he sees some of his old, like, Weapon X and like Hydra buddies that he don't even remember. And so, but they remember him. And so they take down this giant like helicarrier for Hydra and everything, and she disappears once again, only to reappear in the flash forward towards the end of the series. The first season, it pretty much dealt with just the kids being in high school and them dealing with their mutant powers and not trying to reveal themselves to the rest of the world, and having to deal with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil, who was also led by Mystique. She was the principal of the school. Now, because they were teenagers, much of their personalities have changed a lot. I remember Anna Paquin said in the first X-Men movie interview that you can watch this movie and know what it feels like to be a mutant. I still never really could, not even with the old X-Men series. But with X-Men Evolution, I really truly now understood what it was like to be a teenager, scared and alone with mutant powers and how the world hates you. You really get that feeling in this series. Cyclops is still his preppy little self, but he's a little bit more angsty, but he's still a little bit more goody two-shoes. But like I said, he has some teen angst in him. So that was like a huge departure. Him and Jean are not together in this series, not until the 3rd season. Instead, he's dating a completely different girl. And he's still the field leader of the X-Men, except for when like Wolverine is there. Because Wolverine is actually one of the teachers. Let me get into that real fast. Yeah. So when it comes to like Storm and the Professor and Wolverine, they are teachers at the school. And they are grown adults. Beast don't show up until the 2nd season. And by this time, he's still human. And so, yeah. So it's weird seeing Cyclops take orders from Wolverine. Now, Cyclops, like I said before, it's weird seeing him take orders from Wolverine. Because we know how they are in the comics. Also, him and Wolverine, they get along smoothly in this series. Until the 3rd season, when Cyclops decides he's not a child no more, and they're going to defend their people and all this other stuff. But for the most part, he's still the field leader in training. He is Professor X's favorite student next to Jean. And it's just pretty much, he crushes on her the entire season, but she's with another character. Jean is very preppy in this. She's like the cute girl. She's the popular girl at school. Everybody wants to be her and everybody wants to hate her type thing. She's really good at sports and she wants to take up the medical field, just similar as Jean in the X-Men movie. And like I said before, she's not dating Cyclops, but she does crush on him a little bit. But she's dating another student at school named Duncan, who's human, and he doesn't like mutants, so she has to hide all that from him. Her powers are not as advanced as they normally are. There is one episode where she loses complete control and the professor has to help her regain her stability. In this series, however, she uses her telekinesis a whole lot more to make things float around, especially herself. She makes herself fly throughout the entire series. Rogue has one of the biggest departures ever. Gone is the sudden belle who dresses like all like skimpily and flirts with everybody. This Rogue is goth and she is mean. She cannot fly. She does not have super strength. She just has her absorbing powers. And she starts off evil in the beginning of this season because she's working for the Brotherhood, or mostly just Mystique. And so, so she infiltrates the X-Men, and when it's time to betray them, she doesn't want to, and she fights against the Brotherhood, and then she joins the team for reals this time. She crushes on Scott so much, and she gets really jealous of Jean. And later on, she finds out that Kirk is her adoptive brother, and then she also finds out Mystique is her adoptive mother. And it's one of those things she just can't deal with because Mystique lied to her for so many years, and it just really irritates her to the point where she shuns her mother away. And then when it comes to Kirk, he just gets on her nerves and she doesn't really want nothing to do with him. Kirk Nightcrawler also has a huge departure. He is way more youthful, way more playful. He's more like the adventurous, like teen type, like the surfer boy type. Think of him as like Michelangelo from Ninja Turtle, but with a little bit more brains. He gets on Kitty's nerves a lot. And then in this series, he has this thing from the comic books where he's able to change his appearance into human. Now, they end up giving him a girlfriend in this series. One thing I like about his girlfriend and something else about these characters is when they depict people of color, they really depict people of color. Like, you can tell she's something else because she's biracial. And she likes Kirk a lot, even when she finds out he's a mutant, because she knew all along, because she saw him change by mistake. She accepts him for who he is, you know, and she never judges him. Kitty Pryde is in this series, and she's more teeny boppery than anything else. She's the party girl. She loves to dance. She loves music. Like I said before, Kirk gets on her nerves. She has a flirtatious relationship with Avalanche. And for the most part, she's just like totally for sure like type, you know what I'm saying? And she's a whole lot better than the one from Wolverine and the X-Men. The character of Spike, he is the nephew of Storm. Now in this series, the creators, they assume they came up with somebody all original. But it turns out there is a Spike in the comic books. Also, they thought he was original because they saw Morrow character and they thought she was cool, so they wanted a character with Spike. They made him black because they needed diversity. However, one thing that's really odd, they wanted to make him diverse, but they whitewashed him. They gave him bleach blonde hair. He rode a skateboard. He talked with like a surfer boy type accent, similar to Michelangelo. So it's kind of like they went out their way to bring diversity, but to make it for a white audience, to make them appeal to him. Well, people really didn't like this character, to the point where they had to write him off. And when they wrote him off, his mutation accelerated to where he turned into like a monstrous Spike type thing with all this plated armor. So he goes to live with the Morlocks and everything. And then he's gone for the rest of the series and he's replaced with Iceman. Now, Iceman in this series, he's not part of the X-Men team at first. He's way more juvenile. He's way more young. He's just a class clown, kind of like he is in comic books. And he doesn't take nothing seriously. He's actually part of the New Mutants group. Now, when Spike leaves, he takes on more of an X-Men role and joining them in their missions and stuff. The New Mutants. Now, these are the ones from the comic books, but they added two more. They added Jubilee and they added Iceman. They do get their own solo episode, which is kind of nice. For the most part, they're just background characters who just walk around the institution, spouting off stuff. Let's see. They don't really do like really all that much, especially Jubilee. She's just like there in the background. She never looked Asian to me. She didn't sound Asian. She always had like a darker complexion and stuff, and a raspier voice. But she wasn't as annoying as the one from X-Men the animated series. Now, the Brotherhood of Evil, they were just a bunch of punks, young punks. They were teenagers. It's the same ones you always see in the comic books and stuff, led by Mystique. They were Magneto's people, Pietro, Blob, Avalanche, and Toad. And it's just like, you know, they were just there to piss off the X-Men and fight with them. Even one of them even ended up joining the X-Men, and Blob ended up crushing on Jean at one point. But for the most part, they're just lovable goofballs who just like always getting in trouble and always like trying to hurt people and stuff. And one thing that was cool about Toad, he had his own rap music theme song. Now the Scarlet Witch. This Scarlet Witch was screwed up in the head. Her powers were very erratic to the point where Magneto did not want her around as a child, and he locked her up in a mental ward. This caused her to hate both him and Pietro. And when Agatha and Mystique broke her out, boy, she went buck wild when she joined the Brotherhood. She hated her brother so much. She constantly hunted down her father to the point where he had to brainwash her, and then she joined the Brotherhood as an actual member. And she didn't get brainwashed until like the third season, but she got introduced in the second, towards the end. Now, I will say one thing. She had the most unique design I've ever seen. Gone was her wacky witch, like red outfit and seductress clothes. And now it was more of this punker goth red vibe with a little choker with a cross symbol. The way she dresses is very similar to the way Elizabeth Olsen dressed in the MCU. But this one had short, choppy black hair with red like highlights and stuff. Mystique is second in command, and she's the leader of the Brotherhood of Mutants. She is Magneto's lackey, just like she always is in everything else in season 1. At the end of season 1, when she gets enhanced and her powers are more advanced, she takes things in her own hands. She leaves Magneto and she goes on a crusade to try to kill him, while still working with the Brotherhood of Mutants. Magneto has now left at this point. And she's a much more intimidating character than she's ever been in any other series. And one thing she has is a feud with Storm, like constantly for some reason. Wolverine, this is one of my favorite all-time Wolverines, way better than the X-Men in the Wolverine series, or Wolverine the X-Men series. This guy is grumpy. He is just irritated constantly. He has his ultimate hairstyle. Now in this series, he has his brown and blackish outfit from the comic books when he first got introduced, and reintroduced into the X-Men comic books. And it's a nice touch. It's really nice to see. Now in the later seasons, season 3, he has his ultimate outfit, and I just love it to death. That is a great costume, and he ditches his mask. Just like always, he has a feud with Sabretooth. Just like always, there's always this Weapon X flashback stuff. Now, one thing they did interesting with the Weapon X stuff is that instead of him being brainwashed through chemicals or having this huge helmet on his head, they placed a computer chip within his brain. There is no way to get that thing out without killing him and stuff. Storm, they didn't really do Storm that much justice in this. She's just a teacher. She loves botany. She helps the X-Men out every way she can. But she really doesn't have much or nothing to do in this series, to tell you the truth, other than fight with Mystique and stuff. And she is really strong and powerful, but everybody else, like Jean, is more powerful than her. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just they really went the Halle Berry route with her because of the Halle Berry version of Storm. Professor X, he's just a typical Professor X. He's in the wheelchair. He's nice. He has the brother, Juggernaut. And it's just like he's just there. He's there in the background sometimes. He's there as the voice of reason. But it's mostly just revolves around the X-Men, just pretty much like every other X-Men show. Now with Professor X, there is a Legion episode where he gets to meet his son and stuff. Also, the Juggernaut pops up twice in this series. And this one is a mutant who didn't have his mutant powers. They lie dormant. So he awoken them with mysticism, which is the suit that he wears. And in both Juggernaut episodes, man, it is amazing. He's no longer like shouting off like corny one-liners. This dude is deadly, and I mean he is deadly, to the point when Cyclops was trying to take him down with his optic blast, he just grabbed Cyclops by the head with one hand, and his whole head just like disappears and stuff. Magneto is very similar to that of the one from the movie. He's been around since World War II. He's really good with manipulating genetics. He is the ultimate antagonist for pretty much the first 2 seasons, and he is just dark. He will do anything, like always, just to like do anything for the mutant race and kill humans and stuff. It's in the second season he tries to expose, and actually succeeds in exposing mutants to the rest of the world, because a lot of people in the world didn't know mutants even existed. When this happens, it's bad for them. They are constantly hunted down in the 3rd season. Now in the 1st season, he tries to get he wants to get this elite team on an asteroid X, and he wants an elite team of both X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants, but they have to fight each other, and whoever survives get to be in his team. And there, he's gonna genetically manipulate their powers and modify their powers to make them even more enhanced. This is what happened to Mystique when she accidentally went into the machine. It also happened to Sabretooth, but Sabretooth still looks the same as he did in the other season, so it didn't make no sense. But yeah, Havoc is in this, and Cyclops and Havoc actually get to meet, and they get brainwashed by Magneto and his false hopes, and they get genetically modified into where the other X-Men have to bring them back to reality and stuff. This Sabretooth is not scary whatsoever. He's just same as he is in the movie. They made him into a lackey. Now his appearance was supposed to change towards the end of the first season, but it went back to the normal regular thing, which really made no sense. But he does have a cool design all in all. And of course he hates Wolverine. But he ends up fighting Beast a lot in the second season for some reason. Hank McCoy Beast. He first starts off as a teacher, a science teacher at the school in which they all the kids go to. And he's in his human form, and he's trying to get rid of his mutation. Well, it backfires, of course, and he turns into the Beast. But this Beast is less ape-like in appearance and more of a Sasquatch type thing. And he's really short and hunched over. And he has really long shaggy hair. And this one's a lot nicer and kinder, but he doesn't spout off all the like philosophical stuff that the other one used to. And this one, once he turns into a mutant full time, he just, he goes to work at the Institute. And it's just, he accompanies the X-Men on their missions, but he's one of the weakest fighters out of the entire team. And it was to the point where I just got really irritated with this dude. Now, after the Brotherhood failed Magneto countless times by getting their butt whooped by the X-Men, he decides to leave them and join another team, and create one, the Acolytes. This Acolytes is a little bit different. It's Pyro, it's Colossus, yeah, Mesmero, and Gambit. I know, right? Colossus is noble, and he does not want to work for him, but he has to because he did something to his sister. And so since Magneto has his sister captive, he has to work for him. But we never really find out what happens to his sister because the show gets canceled after the 4th season. Now, I don't really go into that much. And so, but he's tough and he is mean. And he has a cool transformation sequence. This version of Pyro is a teenager and he is but wild, crazy, loves setting everything on fire. One thing that's weird is that, he has the ability to manipulate fire. But in order to stop him, like somebody like Storm would just zap his fire pack in his back. And all of a sudden, he can no longer make fire. It don't make no sense. He could just literally make it from any spark that he sees, but he doesn't do that. Now, this Gambit is really interesting. He is bad. At first when we see him, he has normal eyes. After that, he went to his traditional black and red eyes. Instead of loving the Ace of Spades like he does in other iteration, he loves the Queen of Hearts and stuff. And his fires that he can set things telekinetic and they explode. And this Gambit is awesome. The original series was awesome too. This dude's very smooth and stuff. And he still has a different accent. It's just different than his Cajun one. I forget this one guy's name. He's the one who used to be part of the Inner Circle. And he has like an ugly face. And so he changes his appearance by warping people's mind. It will actually using his telepathy to like brainwash people's minds to make them see what he wants them to see. And so he's on the team, but he's really only there to like brainwash the Scarlet Witch because she wants to kill Magneto, and Magneto is tired of his daughter getting and interfering with his plans and stuff. Now, the Sentinels show up towards the end of the 2nd season. This is why I got the missed apocalypse thing. But anyway, they show up because, the people who build the Sentinels, they have now seen mutants for what they are. They don't like it, and they want to round up every mutant they can. So they build one Sentinel, and they capture Wolverine, and they have him fight against it. Thank God, this is not like the other Sentinels you will see in Wolverine, the X-Men, and X-Men anime series. This Sentinel is tough. It takes the entire X-Men and the Brotherhood to defeat this thing. And they still can't even defeat it. It takes Wanda and her powers and Magneto to do it. And so, like, because in the other X-Men shows, it's pretty much you just blast a Sentinel and they just blow up. Or Wolverine will slash and gash it all to pieces, which makes no sense because his claws are not that big and wide. So they actually show it in a very realistic way when Wolverine goes against it. He just leaves scratches on the thing. He's really unable to like tear it up. And when I say this, and this Sentinel has a very unique design. It's more mechanical, it's more sci-fi robotic, and this thing is tough. That season finale in season 2 was amazing. However, after doing this, the US government finds this out and they put a hold on the Sentinel project until, of course, Apocalypse shows up, the Four Horsemen. Then they reinstate it to go up against Apocalypse and stuff. Now, the reason why Magneto has created the Acolytes is because there's a great evil that's going to get resurrected. Apocalypse. Yeah, that gets built up towards the end of the second season, and it is amazing. I like this Apocalypse a lot. I like how his origins came out. He was trapped many years ago, and then so using telepathy, he had Mastermind like get all the pieces that he needed, and he would have Mastermind brainwash people and instilling these pieces to create a key to unlock his tomb. And one of the people he brainwashes is Jean, and she uses her power to brainwash other people. And so towards the end of that season, it's just like all of that. And then next thing you know, he gets freed. And when he's free, he looks like an Egyptian dude. And his powers are more like godlike. But of course, people didn't like this. So they had to redesign him in the next season and make him more... well, actually, yeah, he doesn't show up until the third season. My bad, not the second season. Second season, something else happens. But he doesn't show up towards the end of the third season. And then he shows up in the fourth season. And so then that's when they redesign him to look more like his traditional self. And this dude is, we assume he's killing folks left and right, mutants, like the Professor and Magneto, but he's not. He turns them into his four horsemen. The Professor, Magneto, Storm, somebody else. I can't think of it right now. Oh, Storm, Magneto, Mystique, and the Professor. Yeah, that's it. So those four are his new four horsemen. It's different, it's interesting, and they are tough. And when they have like no willpower, no fear, they whoop on the X-Men and the Brotherhood and the Acolytes and stuff. It was the greatest series finale I had ever seen. One of the greatest battles I had ever seen. The Professor and Jean, they go at it. And she's getting her butt whooped by this Professor dude. And it's just like insane. My only one real complaint about this series is that in the first, like 2 seasons or so, it's not really dealing with X-Men type stuff. It's just like a teen drama who teenagers happen to be mutants with powers and stuff. So even though that's unique, it does get kind of stale after a while. Thank God they got like all the letters from fans, and they started changing things up towards the end of the second season and then into the third and the fourth. Now, season 1 is very self-contained. It's basically the recruitments of the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants. And so we get to see in individual episodes and get to know these characters, their emotions, and what they're going to. And like I said before, you will truly know what it's like to be a teenager with mutant powers and stuff. It does a beautiful job of like emulating that and stuff. And so, but mostly it's not that action packed. It's mostly like drama filled and stuff. I like to think of this as Young Justice before Young Justice became Young Justice, well, drama and stuff. And the drama lasts for season after season after season. This was the true blueprint. I can't talk. blueprint of all that stuff. So it did it way before Young Justice and stuff. And so, you know, the X-Men, they formed their team. They're constantly fighting the Brotherhood of Evil. That's basically who they always fight. And at the end, Magneto has like this chamber that can enhance mutant power. So he puts them all to like a test. The champions get to have their powers enhanced. And so Havoc and Cyclops get their powers enhanced. But then Jean tries to like talk to them and everything like that. And so they destroy Asteroid X or whatever Magneto's calling it. And so then we get into like season 2. Season 2 is still much of season 1, but it's no more recruitments. We get to see new mutants and everything. The new mutants, not to say like a pawn and nothing like that, but yeah, we get to see them. We get to see Boom Boom and what she goes through. She has a father that's human, and he uses her powers to like rob stuff. So it causes problems with the X-Men. She later joins the Brotherhood of Evil. Mystique, she has disappeared, but she's pretending to be like a girl named Misty who's best friends with Rogue to gain her confidence and everything. And so Mystique has like a motive and everything. She wants to expose mutants to the human populace and everything. So mutants will no longer have to hide, and they'll have to like fight the humans and crap. Magneto also has like a plan. No, wait. I got that mixed up. That's not Mystique's plan. That's Magneto's plan. Magneto's plan is to expose mutants so that more mutants will join him. Mystique's plan is to kill the X-Men and get rid of Professor Xavier. So she finds something called DEFCON 4, which is kind of like a safety protocol that will basically nuke the entire mansion in case they're like ever taken by the humans and stuff. And so she does that while some of them are still inside and everything. She has captured Professor Xavier, and they don't know where he at because she's been pretending to be him this entire time. So the second half of like the second season is Mystique pretending to be the professor. Now the humans are very much aware of the mutants, at least the military, a rogue operation and stuff. Trask. So he creates the very first Sentinel towards the end of the season, and he captures Wolverine. And so Magneto knows about this. So then Magneto sets the Sentinel loose on like the X-Men and the Brotherhood. So they have to like fight it and everything. While all this is going on, at some point, Mesmero recruited Jean by brainwashing her to collect certain keys and stuff, and she brainwashes other X-Men to like steal certain keys. So then season 3 is the aftermath of the mansion exploding and people now knowing who they are. So then now they have to deal with the hatred of humans, and it's a lot for them to deal with. Season 3 is by far the best out of all of them because it feels more X-Men type stuff, and also still that of X-Men Evolution, where they're having to still be teens and everything like that. Towards the end of the season is the Apocalypse saga. Magneto is like just wants to stop Apocalypse from coming, so do this to X-Men, but then they fail in their mission, and so they unleash Apocalypse. And we get to see the very first version of him when he was just like a human mutant looking thing. Then we get to see him in his like Egyptian clothes, and he has this godlike power. Fans didn't like that, so they made him look more the way he looks traditionally with the cybernetic type stuff. And so like then he is trying to like turn all humans into mutants. And so he ends up killing Magneto and Mystique, or so we assume, and the Professor, but they're not really killed. They've been turned into his four horsemen and everything. So throughout this entire season, it's just more of them trying to figure out what's going on, and then they wage a battle against Apocalypse towards the end, and it's a climactic two-parter and everything. And so they're able to defeat him barely and everything. Rogue is their trump card. She has to absorb the powers of Leech to shut off some of Apocalypse's powers and stuff. After all this, it's a flash forward to where we get to see what they look like in the future and where their lives have taken them. Now, when the professor hooked up to the cerebro-like interface in the Pyramid of Apocalypse, he saw the future, and it's a really cool montage of what's to come. We see that the Brotherhood and Wanda and them, they have joined S.H.I.E.L.D. Magneto is no longer trying to kill humans, and he's now friends with the X-Men. We see the Sentinels in full swing because human hatred has become rampant. And we see either Master Mode or Nimrod. It's probably Nimrod, because he looks about the same size. I don't know, they all look around the same size as this dude. So it's not really telling, but it's one of them, and it's a great design. We see Jean turn into the Phoenix in his vision. And we see the adult X-Men, and we see tons of them now in their more like Ultimates costumes, and Rogue now gets to fly. Other people have now joined, X-23, Colossus, and stuff like that. Now this series was spearheaded by Craig Kyle. He's the one who does a lot of Marvel animation. He worked on the comic books, he worked alongside the movies. He's the man when it comes to Marvel animation. He's like the Bruce Timm of it all. I have to say, it's quite a shame that many people don't remember this series, and I wish people did. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.